Today we're going to see how the latest offerings from Samsung stacks up to its nearest price competitor from Apple. Now, the Z Flip 3 is a very special and unique phone that is both incredibly small when folded up, but also with more screen real estate when open compared to the iPhone. While the iPhone 12 Pro is bigger overall, but has fantastic battery life and an overall ecosystem that is unmatched in the market. So when we smash these two together, which one comes out on top? We don't really want to break them. Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Gary, why compare these two phones at all? Shouldn't you be comparing the Z Fold 3 to the iPhone 12 Pro Max? Because those are the top of the line, and you know what? Sure, if you would like to see that video, leave me a comment below. But I chose these specifically because they are basically the same price. And I don't know about y'all, but I primarily make my tech purchase decisions on what I can get for the best value within a certain budget. I don't go out and say, wow, I really need the Z Flip 3. Wow, I really need the iPhone. I'm going to make my budget match that. I have a budget, I stay within it. And before we get started, let's make a couple of quick disclaimers. No one provided me either of these devices. I purchased both on my own sum. No crazy brand double embargoes in this video. That's topical. First off, let's quickly cover the specs and ordering options to get us all on the same page about what we're talking about here. The iPhone 12 Pro is the smaller of the high-end iPhone 12 lineup. This comes in at $999, and for that price, you'll get the brand new A14 processor, 128 gigabytes of storage, a 6.1 Super Retina XDR display clocked in at 60 Hz, and a triple camera array with ultra-wide, wide-angle, and a telephoto lens. You can buy additional storage going up to 512 gigabytes for $12.99. The Z Flip 3, on the other hand, is the smaller of the Samsung flippable phones, and it also comes in at $999. For that price, you'll get the Snapdragon 888 8-core processor, 128 gigabytes of storage, both a 1.9-inch Super AMOLED screen on the front, and a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED screen when the phone is open. This screen is also clocked in at up to 120 Hz, and the cameras, you'll get a dual array with wide and ultra-wide options. Okay, we got the specs out of the way. Let's get into what's different between the two. And I don't really think that you can compare these two without starting with the most unique feature of both, the flippable nature of the Samsung. And what's cool here is that the Flip can be both smaller and bigger than the iPhone 12 Pro. You heard me say that it can fold down, and in its folded state, it's about half the size of the Pro. Yes, it will gain some thickness as the screen is doubled in on itself, but honestly, I find that it's easier to make up for that extra thickness when I want a smaller phone than it is to make up for the iPhone's wider size when I want a bigger phone. That makes sense, right? Like, basically, the thickness of the Z Flip is not that big of a deal, and it's well worth the versatility of the phone because of it. The iPhone 12 Pro isn't overly large by any stretch of the imagination, but I've always thought of this as my least favorite of the 12 lineup. Because of its shape and heft, this is actually a kind of uncomfortable phone to hold for extended periods of time. Now, I haven't had this issue with either the 12 mini, or the 12 Pro Max, but the way the 12 Pro feels almost top-heavy, it does cause some strain on my wrist while working on it, and I much prefer the body shape and feel of the Z Flip in the straight-up holding in the hand comparison. Other differences physically are the connection and charging ports for each phone. The iPhone 12 Pro has Apple's proprietary Lightning connector, which you all should know my feelings on that by now. However, if you are new here, welcome. I don't like it very much. I'm not a big fan of proprietary chargers and cables, and that we are as far as we are in the 2020s and still talking Lightning kind of makes me sad. You see this? This is my sad face. Till we start talking about the Z Flip 3, because this has a USB-C charging port, and yes, that's way more ubiquitous anymore, and it's just a way better connection. Heck, a lot of Apple tech is also using USB-C, just not their phones. Sorry, I promise I won't go too far down that rabbit hole here. Lightning, it's not good. I really hope we get rid of it soon. When it comes to the screens, that's where we're really going to see the biggest difference in design philosophy rear its head. Samsung seems to take the approach that we need the current, most cutting-edge technology that we can possibly get and put it into the phone's display, regardless of whatever that technology does to the internal thermal capacity or the battery life of the phone. Apple, on the other hand, seems to really want to prioritize battery life and designs its displays, well, all of its technology really, to extend the usable power and battery of the phone to last as long as possible. So it should come as no surprise that the 6.7-inch screen on the Z Flip 3 is a gorgeous AMOLED panel at 2640 by 1080 resolution. The biggest performance difference you're going to see here is that you can set the Z Flip 3 to run at either 120 Hz or 60 Hz refresh rates. This gets talked about a lot on the internet, but it's really going to come down to personal preference on what you want to set this to. I actually have my Z Flip 3 set to 60 Hz because I don't care too much about fast refresh rates on cell phones. Do I care about it on my big monitor that I play video games on? Yes, absolutely. Give me the fastest refresh rate that we can get, because there it does have a performance difference. But on a tiny phone that I'm going to use to send my hot takes on Twitter and watch my Venture Brother TV show, yeah, it doesn't matter. Believe me, I know that probably marks me as a tech primate, but phone refresh rates aren't worth sacrificing battery life over, and yes, we will talk more about battery life differences in a bit. Plus, using the folding device is still taking me some getting used to, because there is a crease in the middle of the phone that your fingers are always going to be bumping into. Now, it does not affect the picture quality unless you are really trying to look for it. See, there it is right there. But you see, I had to angle it so that you could see it. Normally, you're not going to see that, but it is still driving me nuts when I'm trying to scroll through websites or apps on the phone. The iPhone screen is a technically smaller 6.1-inch Super Retina panel, but it is running at a higher resolution and higher pixel per inch at 2532 by 1170 and 460 ppi. This screen is also gorgeous, and while no, it doesn't fold in half, it's very usable, and it's one of the better screens that I've ever seen. But it's got a notch on top that, I don't know, Gary, it makes the phone look bad, right? It makes the notches are terrible, right? Okay. All right, fam. Here's my super hot take, and I already know that this is going to win me no friends across the aisle. I don't know how you use your cell phone, but I don't stare at the top of my phone all day long. So when I'm using my phone, I don't notice the notch. I would rather live with the notch than live with a physical bump in the middle of my phone that I always have to interact with. I'm sorry. Dropping the mic here a little bit. Hot take over. At the end of the day, though, it's all tech preferences, right? And look, don't base your own personal identity on whatever product you prefer, whether it be cell phone or computers, anything. You be you. Don't invest your emotions in these. Another quick note in displays, the Z Flip has a second display on the front that will let you check notifications and use a few built-in widgets without needing to actually open the phone up. And I really like this feature for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm not always turning on my phone to check those notifications, this extends the battery life. And two, please don't laugh at me. Please, this is a serious comment. Because I'm not fully getting into my phone to check things, I find that this has been saving me a ton of time. Normally when I check a notification on my iPhone, I can easily fall down a big rabbit hole of spending 30 minutes on Twitter or YouTube. But on the Z Flip, I'm finding myself only checking the notification. No kidding. This has probably already saved me hours of productivity just by not allowing me to waste my own time. This front screen really makes the phone for me. Camera-wise, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of raw picture formats, pixel sizes, and the such. The iPhone, I think, does have the more versatile camera array because while they both share wide-angle and ultra-wide-angle cameras, the iPhone has a telephoto option too. That means if you're not a big camera person, that just means that you can zoom in once without needing to digitally crop in on the photo, lending you to a marginally better picture if you're trying to reach out and take a photo of something else. I do think that also because the iPhone has one of the largest sensored cameras in the cell phone world in its wide angle, you will get the best performance of the lot there. But honestly, if you want to take pictures of your kids or other stuff around the house or pictures of family events, you will not be able to tell that big of a difference between the two phones. If you are a professional photographer, I am not one, you already know what to look for and which will work better for you. So let's not waste the time here trying to get all technical and nitty gritty about it. One thing I do want to say though for positives on the Z Flip 3's front facing camera is because of the way this phone folds, you can actually use this as a little portable web conferencing tool without needing a stand or other such accessory. You can just set it down on the table, angle the screen where you want it to go, and get to work. I really like this feature. I personally like carrying as little as possible, and I know that this sounds like a gimmick, but this works pretty darn well, and there are some other apps that take really good advantage of this flex mode here. And the last major thing that I want to talk about is battery life. And while the rest of the video, I kind of feel has been leaning pretty heavily towards the Z Flip, Here it's not even really a contest. Like I said earlier, the two brands just have different priorities in technology, and it really shows itself in battery life. The Samsung is like a hot rod that guzzles fuel throughout the day, and the iPhone is a hybrid that gets decent performance without needing to fill up all of the time. Now, I do personally think that the reports of the bad battery life on the Z Flip are a little inflated. Like I said, I think the front display is amazing, and if you use this in folded mode most of the time, you'll have no issues getting through a full day of work here. But the iPhone 12 Pro will easily and comfortably last a full workday. So again, you'll have to really decide what is your priority: power and coolness, or practicality and length of use. But at the end of the day, so what, right? Which of these two would I recommend for somebody looking to buy a phone at the $1,000 price point? You might think that because I personally use a lot of Apple devices, my blanket statement would say, go to the iPhone. But I really like the Z Flip 3, and I think that this can be a fantastic little versatile work phone if you do not need superior screen on time. If you don't mind looking outside the Apple ecosystem and would like a phone that's small enough to fit anywhere, but can also turn into a large practical tool, I can easily recommend the Z Flip 3 to you. This phone, not only is it a great tool, it's also a heck of a lot of fun. But if you do prioritize being able to live off the charger as long as possible, and you want more of a reliable workhorse and don't need the new fancy tech, I can still really easily recommend the iPhone. I mean, look at the end of the day, with all this cool tech out there, I still personally use an iPhone because I value a lot of things that the iPhone can do over cool hardware. As much as folks can sometimes hate it when I say this, to decide between these two, you really need to determine what your personal tech priorities are, and then that's easy. It will clear up which will work best for you. And if you like this video and you would like to see more content on the Z Flip 3, right here, if you click right here, you can find my whole playlist covering all sorts of cool stuff about this tiny and powerful little phone. You can click right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.